Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Vlogs, where we have a little bit of a special edition, as I am going to be covering for the next couple of vlogs that are going to be coming out very close to each other, my thoughts on BlizzCon 2018. But Drak, I thought you did those live streams to be able to do predictions and then also be able to do a kind of wrap-up. I did that, and I'm entirely happy that I did that because you were able to get not just my opinion, but also the opinions of Rising Sun Reviews, of The Art of Anime, as well as Brinton Volley when he joined us for the wrap-up. But now I can go a little bit more in depth. As I actually said in the wrap-up, because my weekend was really busy with other events aside from BlizzCon, I wasn't actually able to do too much homework by the time that live stream came around. By that point, I'd been able to watch maybe 2 to 3 panels and be able to get a little bit more of a scope into what those announcements were going to be, and that's where these vlogs are going to be different. They are going to be focused on the information as I tackle them one at a time and be able to give you my thoughts accordingly to the announcements that were made for that specific Blizzard game. We're going to try and cover as many of them as possible, but let's go ahead and get things started with the opening ceremony. Now, before I get started with it, I'm just going to caveat this, basically saying that I'm not going to give too many opinions on this one, and I'm going to leave it to when I actually cover the actual games. I'm going to go into the aspect of the opening ceremony itself, which is in its own thing a feature of BlizzCon, something that we all look forward to and also kind of judge it accordingly. And with that, let's go ahead and get things started. I'm just going to go through the events and give my thoughts on, thoughts and opinions on stuff that happened with the opening ceremony, but aren't related to the other games. And the first thing, obviously, that I need to talk about is we did get the reveal. So we found out that, I think just before the opening ceremony began, that anybody with Battle.net was going to get a free copy of Destiny 2 until November 18th. That's awesome. I was actually wondering if we were going to see anybody from the Activision family or extended family here to either talk about Call of Duty Black Ops or to talk about Destiny 2. And we actually did get it, but I think it was in the appropriate manner that it was. And people might already be confused if you didn't already watch the wrap-up and also the predictions. I thought you did a video last year on why Destiny 2 should have been there. And over the year, I've basically just changed my opinion on the matter. Like, looking at it from all types of angles over the year, it just doesn't make sense to be there. It's more in the Activision sense than it is in Blizzard. It's only on the Battle.net app because probably Activision asked for it to be and didn't want to have to worry about too much infrastructure and saw the Battle.net app and said, we don't have to worry about too much infrastructure. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for Destiny 2 to be there. And I'm kind of glad that it was as little as this, that we actually got any announcements for it. But moving on into the next thing that we found out, again, this was also just before the opening ceremony, was that the official serial Lucio O's is going to be coming out in December. It's going to be a limited release, but if you don't know the character Lucio from Overwatch, he's just kind of like a DJ that is part-time hero as well, and he's going to get his own cereal. So this is about as silly to me as Booty-O's from the New Day in WWE. Then we actually went into the opening ceremony itself with a very touching and appropriate passing of the torch, as it were. We got to see Mike Morhaime start the opening ceremony as he has done numerous times before. But in case you didn't know this already, Mike Morhaime announced, I believe it was at the beginning of September, that he was going to be stepping down as current CEO of Blizzard Entertainment and going to be taking much more of an advisor or an analyst kind of role. And in turn, he was going to be replaced by his buddy J. Allen Brack. Yes, that J. Allen Brack. I don't know why we had the dramatic music. You guys keep on hating him, and I just don't think the hate's justified. In fact, I actually applaud him for being as honest as he is with the player base, because sometimes even the player base, along with the devs, as you're going to find out throughout these videos, sometimes both sides need to hear hard things. And J. Allen Brack does that. So, for those who don't know my opinion on the matter, I'm actually happy with the decision. I know J. Allen Brack has been with Blizzard for a long time, and I think he's probably the right guy to be able to do it. If I was going to give it to anybody else, it would probably be oh crap, I can never remember his full name at Pierce. He would be one of the guys that I would hand it over to, or J. Allen Brack, or Chris Metzen. But Chris Metzen is really not there anymore, and happy in his retirement, as it were. So I'm very happy about the passing of the torch, and it was very touching to be able to see that, and for us to get a brand new CEO. And then we got into the announcements at BlizzCon. For those who don't know this, the opening ceremony is kind of the way that they utilize to be able to make major announcements that are going to be coming out either within this year or the next year, and be able to get people start, or at least get the hype machine kind of started for them. And they started off in an appropriate manner, in my opinion, because they started with StarCraft 2, which they openly admitted they didn't really have too much available for it. We were going to get Zeratul as a StarCraft 2 commander, and that DeepMind was going to be back to talk more AI in StarCraft. And also, DeepMind got brought up a couple other times in other panels, but I will get to them when we get there. But so we got that. Then we moved into the Heroes of the Storm announcement, where we actually got kind of a swerve. A lot of us, including us, expected for them to announce more Blizzard-themed heroes. So I think there was a rumor actually going out there that Grom Hellscream was going to be one of them, and I can't remember who the other one was, but it was going to be like the Grom Hellscream base from Warlords of Draenor. And no, they swerved us completely, as they didn't have a new map to announce right off the bat, but they did announce the character Orphea, who is a real swerve in the fact that she is a character indigenous to the Nexus. She is the first character that is unique to the Nexus that you will be able to play as. So at that point, like, for all the people screaming at me going, well, no, Dragonshire, you could play the Dragon Knight, and Blackheart's Bay, Blackheart's a character that you see in the Ravenlord, and that's all well and good, but you don't play as those characters. I'm not sure about the Ravenlord. I know he got a comic, but we'll get to that point in Heroes of the Storm. But this is actually a really cool announcement, as we have the first character that is unique to the Nexus. So at that point, it's not just Blizzard All-Stars anymore. It also can include new characters to add to lore and to be able to make heroes even better and even more unique. Up next came World of Warcraft, and we had John Haidt coming out to announce officially that WoW Classic will be launching summer of 2019 and is going to be free to anybody with a WoW subscription. So at that point, a lot of speculation moving into this was that if they were going to release it, they would wait all the way until November 2019 in honor of World of Warcraft's 15-year anniversary. And that does kind of make sense, but this also makes sense too. A lot of people have been waiting a very long time to get WoW Classic in their hands, or at least see Blizzard's attempt at a Classic realm. I know a lot of people who had the opening ceremony going, but were also downloading the WoW Classic demo because they were interested in that, not necessarily in the other announcements that were going to be made. Along with that, we also got the announcement of a new charity shop pet, which is going to be Whomper the Little Yeti. And he got his own trailer, and it's super cute. And it's actually going to go towards the benefit of code.org, I believe is what it's called. It's going to be helping young women programmers be able to get the training that they need. And I'll get into that in the WoW panel because a little bit more details was given there. We also got a new WoW cinematic called Lost Honor, which is going to be the cinematic that kind of leads into patch 8.1 Tides of Vengeance, basically stating what Anduin had been doing just after the Siege of Lordaeron, as he goes to speak with Varrock Saurfang and figure out what the next turn of events are going to be. And a lot of people have been speculating with 8.1 information as to how Varrock Saurfang got out of Stormwind, because when you go in there as a Horde player, he is very much there and not looking to leave. But it looks like Anduin has other plans in mind, and in turn wants to ask Varrock to help him instead of fight against him. So Lost Honor was a really good cinematic to be able to go and watch. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to count it in the WoW coverage, but we'll see if we actually get there. I liked how it looked. I like what they were actually trying to do with it, and I've kind of changed my opinion on whether or not Saurfang could actually be the next war chief after Sylvanas, whereas my usual camp on this one was going to be Bane Bloodhoof. And that was the WoW news. The next up was Overwatch, where we got the new short Reunion. Reunion is based around McCree, and we also got to learn a little bit about McCree's past as he has a run-in with a former acquaintance, the female outlaw Ash, her butler, I think is what they called him, her butler Bob, as well as his prize, so to speak, which was a mysterious robot by the name of Echo. Echo didn't really get much of a focus, but we will definitely get into Ash and Bob when we get into Overwatch. I'm just going to go ahead and say the short was amazing. It actually took away a lot of the hatred that I have for McCree. It's not because McCree's a bad character, it's because people like to be, trolls with him. But I did like the animated shorts, same level of polish that I've come to expect from them, and it was really awesome to be able to watch. And then, like I said, we'll go into this a little bit more in detail, but we also got the announcement that the 29th hero, Ash, is going to be joining Overwatch, and it's technically 29th and the 29th and a half, but again, we'll get there when we get there. This was around the time when we got the Swerve announcement that nobody expected. People wanted, but didn't expect it to actually happen, as Warcraft 3 Reforged was announced. It is an HD remake of Warcraft 3. We're guessing the Frozen Throne is also included in there, kind of like StarCraft Remastered, where they did include Brood War. But the cool part about that is with Warcraft 3 Reforged, we are basically getting a from the ground up overhaul. You're going to get more HD looking models. You're also going to be getting full on cutscenes to replace the, I guess you could call them cutscenes as well, that would occur in Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne. You're going to get more immersive ones this time around. They're going all out for it. And with that, they also announced that there would be a Spoils of War edition if you pre-ordered Warcraft 3, which would include goodies for the various games, including a meat wagon mount for WoW, and I think there's also going to be a Warcraft 3 themed pet that we're also going to be getting in WoW. All of that is very cool, but I'm actually going to go ahead and set aside a different video for this because Warcraft 3 Reforged does need a little bit more detail, but it was definitely unexpected. And probably one of the highlights of this year's opening ceremony was being able to see them recreate the original Warcraft 3 opening cinematic and do it with modern models. That was actually really awesome to be able to watch. Up next was Hearthstone. And Hearthstone didn't disappoint either, as they announced the next expansion, Rastakan's Rumble. It is the first ever troll-themed Hearthstone expansion. It's actually very surprising to me it took them this long to get here. But yes, Rastakan's Rumble was announced with a big cinematic and was very much lit up with fanfare to learn more about it. Again, you'd have to go into the details there, but I will admit that cutscene when you actually can, or that cinematic when you actually can hear it, and I couldn't because I had screaming kids at the time, it's pretty good. I don't know if I'd necessarily say the song is better than, say, Kobolds and Catacombs. That was really catchy, but it still worked. And this was probably the highest point of the opening ceremony. And I'm not saying that to be mean or anything like that, but the next announcement was a veritable thud, and we'll get into that detail in the next video. As the most anticipated announcement walking into this was Diablo. And for those who aren't familiar with the hype, we had videos and statements basically speculating we were going to be getting major Diablo announcements, so much so that the hype machine was in full force, speculating either a Diablo 2 remastered, which would have been just like a remake from the ground up, or it would have been Diablo 4 itself. And a lot of people speculated with all the job openings and other rumors that have been going around that Diablo 4 was probably a good distance into development, and we might actually be able to see some kind of a gameplay trailer. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and this is what made it the veritable thud that it was, as instead they announced Diablo Immortal, an action RPG that is announced as a mobile game. We'll obviously get into the details of that in the Diablo video, but they did announce that it was for mobile and that it would take place between Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction and Diablo 3. And that's pretty much how the opening ceremony ended, and the really horrible, awkward silence that accompanied Wyatt Chang while he was trying to justify the opening ceremony was very much what needed to happen. In fact, this is one of the problems that a lot of people are getting into, and I'll just go into it from the opening ceremony's perspective, is if they had only a mobile game to announce, they should have been lower on the list. In fact, the big announcement this year should have probably been either Rastakon's Rumble, which did get a good reception for it, either that, the Ash trailer for Overwatch. I don't think Orphea would have done it at the end, or Warcraft 3 Reforged. All of those announcements had a veritable amount of applause and praise walking into them, and so at that point it might have been a better idea to do either of them as the ending announcement and then move Diablo Immortal lower down the card for the opening ceremony, and then at that point it might not have been such a big hit. It's just unfortunate that I have a feeling that this was not necessarily a Blizzard decision, but more an Activision decision to keep it at the top spot, even though we're now hearing rumors that they might have actually had Diablo 4, but then cut it out last minute. It might have been just a better idea, but I have a feeling Activision wanted to get Immortal out there and didn't care whether or not it would be done better lower down the list instead of, say, Warcraft 3 Reforged to be the ending announcement and kind of eclipse Diablo Immortal. So overall, the opening ceremony was fun. It did actually have some good moments. It did have some shock announcements. In fact, its ending one was quite a bit of a shock announcement. But overall, because of that last announcement, I have to admit, it does take the wind out of its sails. If it had ended on a better note, then it wouldn't be such a major problem. But the fact that they tried to end it on basically Blizzard's equivalent of a cash grab, that is not the best way to be able to end things out. But before I get into my thoughts on Diablo, I will just go ahead and reference you guys to the next video that's going to be coming up in the Drak vlogs for BlizzCon 2018. But in the meantime, that is my thoughts on the opening ceremony. Overall, it wasn't bad, but it definitely lost a lot of its hype near the end, and understandably so, with the announcement of a Diablo mobile game instead of just straight up Diablo 4. And that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. So thank you guys so much for your continued love, support, and patience with the channel. I really do appreciate it. And of course, I'll be back in time for the next video covering Diablo.